We are the co-founders of Dipper.
Dipper is a technology platform that guides professionals of color to a better workplace, one review at a time.
Dipper is your safe space. It is the time for you to share your voice with a community that you are a part of. Visit us and join today at ourdipper.com.
We're back.
Yes, it's another Thursday, my favorite day of the week. It's my favorite day.
Too. I get to see you. There's nothing like seeing a sister and talking for 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Along with our amazing audience that always engage with us. If you're new and you're tuning in right now, please head to ourdipper.com. Make sure that you sign up. Dipper guides professionals to a better workplace, one review at a time, right? So you have an opportunity to
100%.
do that. If you're a hiring manager or recruiter that's tuning in, head to Dipper, list your open roles, right? We have a community of professionals that are seeking opportunities and would love to learn about the open roles that you have. So today's topic is PTSD has kicked in at my new workplace. How many people can relate to that?
Don't let it get you.
Oh, it will get you. It will get you. So I just wanted to kind of break down PTSD. What does that even mean? PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's actually a real thing. Being in a workplace where you are, a target can cause you many symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, aka PTSD. And there's a multiple whammy, I always say, right? You're devastated emotionally, socially, even physically, and financially, right? It can impact you. And it can really stem from a terrifying event, either experiencing it or even just witnessing it. And oftentimes people have these experiences within the workplace. And, many people have said to me, well, Netta, some of these symptoms are flashbacks. Some folks have even said nightmares, severe anxiety. And then what happens is we think we're healed, right? Just because we're leaving that situation or that job, and we step into a new organization and we carry that trauma with us, which can be problematic. So I have a lot to talk about here, but I know you have some things to unpack as well.
Yeah. It's funny because I think you hit it the nail on the head. Is sometimes we feel a new job is going to fix all the things.
Yeah.
And this will, like, if I step into something new, if I put myself out there and I go apply for a new role and take this on, I won't have these issues anymore. I'll leave them. And there's going to be, it not only could the same experience happen at a new place, right? But the impact that the experience you have had could follow you and could impact like the relationships you have with new people, right?
Absolutely.
And so, how do we work through that? And I see so many people saying like, this is me, I'm going through this right now. Help. So I think please feel free to put stuff in the comments, questions in the comments, like everything's on the table here for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I was doing some research as well. And some of the stats, it talks a little bit about active bullying. So there is an active bully in 66.6% of workplaces. And this person is more likely to be in a leadership role. So, AKA, they have some power, right? That they've been using and controlling others. Also, I learned workplace bullying increases stress levels at work in 9 out of 10 staff. And also 7 out of 10 people leave their jobs then due to the workplace bullying that exists. 4 out of 5 bully targets suffer from depression and sleeping problems after, the experience that they've faced within the workplace. And so, like you were saying before, many people leave, they head to another organization without healing and therapy. Without healing and therapy, we take on our trauma into the next job, which then hinders our progress, like you were saying. And I remember how this actually affected and impacted me. Early in my career, I had experienced a manager that was just simply cruel towards me.
Mhm.
And I wish, honestly, Jacinta, I could call her up right now and say, "Look at me now. Look at me now.
Look at what you did.
Look at what you did, right? But look how I'm blossoming."
Exactly.
But what I did was I, quickly left. I landed a new role and I had
Mhm.
my guards up. And I didn't want to interact much because I was afraid of being hurt. If
Yeah.
someone did something that, made me feel slightly uncomfortable, it was amplified in my head, right? Causing me a lack of sleep. And I really had to then identify that I was experiencing unresolved trauma and I had to seek a therapist.
100%.
I had to seek a therapist. And oftentimes, what I tell folks is, some of the top three healthy interventions that I went through to kind of alleviate that was one, I had to get a therapist, and
Mhm.
my therapist then started to guide me into this journey of healing, which I didn't even know that I was suffering in that moment. I thought, like, hey, all I need to do is jump in a new role and I'll be fine.
Right.
The next step was I really had to develop a support system. And what I had realized is, in the role that I was not happy with and I was being bullied in, I didn't have a support system. There was no one
Your
that I could
tribe.
really,
We
yeah,
always talk about
try to
your tribe.
feel,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't have you. Like I had you in the other
Right,
organization,
right.
right? So you must, and I tell people, you must find people who love you, who validate you, who believe in you, who actually care about you. People who are just an email and a phone call away. When you start to feel tense within your new workplace, you can call them and say, "Hey, here's what I'm experiencing." And then that friend or that support system can say, "Hey, remember, this is not your current situation. That was your
Mhm.
last situation, right? And you're out of that." And then the last thing was let yourself feel. And that's something I didn't want
Yeah.
to allow myself to do because I had felt it so much. I'm like, oh,
Well,
I always,
we're always supposed to be strong, right? So I
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
in letting yourself like embrace how you feel, that
yes,
is a level of vulnerability that we're often told we're not supposed to have at work,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely. So those were the top three kind of steps and approaches that I took to reclaim my power.
Mhm.
And once I did that, it was like I was a brand new person within the workplace.
100%.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I I mean, we talk about like and I see it all over social media, all over LinkedIn, like everything is about like, you know, quiet quitting or quitting a job, getting a new job. And
Mhm.
oftentimes I had a moment at a place where I was like, wait a minute. I
Yeah.
was here before this person. I am here building shit. I care about
Right,
what I
right.
am building. I care about the team I have and
Yeah.
like what I'm doing. I am not going to let this person and their ego push
Mhm.
me out of here. Like it's like
Yeah.
I built this joint, like not for free, but I built it. And it's like I
Right.
am building here and I am putting
Yeah.
in the work. I am not going to let someone else like derail me and this business. Cause oftentimes when
Mhm.
there is this person who is like the workplace bully. They are not good for the business. Like
Yeah.
they are not. I have never seen where this individual was good for the business. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe it's happening somewhere. In my experience, it is not. So oftentimes, like you pausing doing the work on yourself and then also pushing others to do the work on that individual um, is going to be better for you. It's going to be better for the business. And
Mhm.
I think it's so and sometimes it might be time to step out. But if you step out and into something new, that stuff still comes. Like people
Oh,
talk
it
about
does.
this with relationships, right? It's gonna come with
That's
you.
exactly what it's like.
It's
Yeah.
not over. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna come with you.
Yeah.
You can't take that with you. And it's okay to, we're not asking you to forget about it. I think it's okay to remember it and remember those moments and like how they form who you are. I remember very specifically in a performance review, someone told me I should not show on my face when I don't agree with a proposal or I question something, because the company really needs me to be a cheerleader and not to challenge it for excellence, but to just cheer on and support the other executives. This was given to me by a C-level executive.
Wow.
In a performance review. Like, it was written down, like
Oh my
written,
goodness.
like written down.
Well, let me ask
And
you, how did that make you feel in that moment?
it was weird because, you know, we talk all the time about like bring your authentic self to work, like be you, be real. And you know, it's like, okay, how am I supposed to do that when you are specifically telling me to be fake? You know, and like also we both worked, I think when we were at IAC, I often joke that I think a big thing that helped both of us do well there is we were who we were, like all the time, 100%. Like,
Absolutely.
and everyone loved it. It helped the business, but we were who we were. I mean, and we're kind, we're respectful, you know. But if we feel like something is problematic or incorrect, like we're going to ask questions, we're going to dive in. And so I got that feedback and it made me feel horrible. And I was just like, man, like, what do I do? I immediately was like, I fundamentally don't agree. Like, do I go to someone else? Like, I had a good relationship with the CEO. So I was like, do I like, what should be the next move? Right.
Right.
I spoke to someone in my tribe. They recommended a executive coach to me, and I had done executive coaching before. But I was like, okay, like maybe I will do this again. And girl, that executive coach was the truth. I mean, it was like,
oh my goodness.
it was so amazing, and really like motivated me to embrace being bold, to embrace my creativity, who I am, and what that means for me as a leader. And I will say, between the executive coach and therapy, both I did for work. Like I joke with you all the time. I told my therapist first session, I was like, sis, this is about work. Like, we are just going to talk about work. Like, I can't talk to my man about work every day. Like, we need to talk about work. And I think this is this in that it helped. And it was funny, through therapy, through the coaching, they actually they were like, you're being too passive. Like, you need to be okay getting mad and letting people know that you're mad or disappointed or that we expect better for the business. And you need to speak out more. And so through that, I just embraced this mantra of like, I'm going to be bold by any means necessary. And
I love that.
And I was like, you know, I am also very kind. I love people. I care about people. My boldness is like important. And I tell you, I think after that, my career kind of took off. Even in that company, that manager was actually like moved out of the way. And things kind of worked themselves out, you know. And I think, and also that individual actually came back to me later when we were both no longer with the company and communicated how they were wrong. And I was like, wow, I didn't even ask for that.
But look at life.
Look at life.
Amazing. That's the amazing thing. That's one thing I noticed about when you've done the work to heal, it always comes full circle. You're going to get an apology. There's something that's then going to show up, and it's so divine, which is interesting because I've had experiences like that as well. Wow. But your story, Jacinta, is so powerful. And it just reminds me of, I think oftentimes when we're in these situations where we may be experiencing a level of trauma within the workplace, we're very reactive about it. It's like, okay, now I'm going to get a therapist. Now I'm going to get an executive coach. And I'm just thinking about how do we as human beings start to be more proactive
And have that toolkit.
and have a toolkit, right?
Yeah.
We have a lawyer. That's a part of your toolkit. Have
Mhm.
an executive coach, have a therapist that's always on deck. So it's not just you're talking to that person when there's this element of tragedy or trauma, it's ongoing.
Mhm.
That's kind of how you begin to kind of sustain healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And giving your space yourself. And look, Netta and I are not like, we're not therapists, we're not experts. So I'm like also putting that out there. Like,
Disclaimer out there, right?
giving yourself the space to, like, every time someone says something to you, it does not mean you have to respond in that moment
Right,
too.
right.
Like, so if you're presented with a new idea, a new problem, a new dilemma, I am kind of learning that it is okay for me to say, let me take some time to think about that and
Mhm.
get back to you. Like, that's also perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And because, and then I know myself, sometimes I do have a tendency to quickly like respond.
Mhm.
So me pausing often allows me to evaluate the whole situation, evaluate where I'm at, any past in like trauma, any bias is real,
Yeah.
in before like communicating the decision. So just like pausing to think about it and then embracing the humility of like owning your shit. It is also okay to
Right.
say the wrong thing, to do the wrong thing, and to make mistakes. But
Yeah.
let's just own it and move past it. Like
Yeah,
you and like
absolutely.
I've said wrong things to Netta and been like, you know what, girl, I'm sorry. Like that wasn't
Mhm.
right. I should have said that differently. Let me
Yeah.
come back. And I think that's okay. Like it is okay to just make a mistake. And I always hear the thing fail fast or fail forward. Like,
Mhm.
and do that with a level of humility where you're just owning your shit and
Yep.
doing what's best for you, for the business, for your people, all of that.
I love that. I just posted a comment here from Leo. Many of us carry
Mhm.
trauma from our youth. Every step we take and everywhere we go, working environments expose past echoes sometimes. And that's so interesting because now I'm starting to think about those that perpetuate harm within the workplace.
Mm.
What type of trauma did they experience that
Yeah.
they're then bringing into the workplace and harming others? And so it's, I think all around, it's so important for us to really do the work to heal so that we're not harming,
And
harming each other. Yeah.
that's an interesting perspective, Leo, because I know I was in an executive offsite, and the first question we started with was what from your childhood
Mhm.
what in your childhood was like most prominent that formed who you are today,
Yeah.
right? And for one, I was like, talking about my feelings at work, ultimate level of discomfort, but I
Right.
think it was really cool to see that so many people, like who they are today and how they react to things and what they trauma they have been through impacts like how they engage with work on a regular basis.
Right.
And knowing that, especially with other executives, like what made them who they are, it was really interesting and it kind of opened up the door for like me to trust them to trust me more too.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. I think that's, it's so, trust is so important, being able to open that door to communicate and have these conversations and even
Hmm.
having, I think, especially when you're stepping into a new role for a leader or manager to even ask some of these questions. Hey, how was your experience at your last organization? Right? What are some things I can do to make sure that you feel supported? How can I show you that I care, that I want you to propel? How can I support you as
Mm.
well when if you go through an experience that I may not be aware of, how can I make sure I step in and support you? How does that look for you?
How soon should a manager be having that convo, Netta? Like
Immediately.
if you start a new
Yeah,
role, do you feel that like within those first 30 days, a manager should be diving
absolutely.
into like what was it like at your last place?
Absolutely. I think day one on the first day. And that's something that I do, even with my team and those that have joined. Those are some of the first questions that I ask. How can I make sure that I show up for you and support you? What are some ways within your last organization that you needed your manager to show up for you, but they weren't there to do that? How did that impact you? And really trying to understand, okay, what are some of the gaps in support that this person didn't have, so I can make sure that I'm making sure that I'm supporting them. And that's critical. And I think, it's unfortunate because many managers don't have those types of conversations. It's just like, hey, all right, I needed you yesterday.
Yeah.
All right, here's the work. You're like, all right.
Yeah. No.
A little bit about me. And
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I wonder, this is a little lighter and a little more fun, but I wonder, are there things that people say or do that you feel like shows their trauma or in the workplace or that others find really annoying? I'll go first.
Please
For
do.
me, it really makes me giggle every time someone is like, at my last job, or at blah 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 blah, we
Listen.
we did it. Sometimes I'm like, is this a drinking game?
Right.
Like, should I take a sip every time
Yeah.
you mention the last company you were at? Like every time someone mentions the last company they were at, I'm like,
yeah, I've
take a sip.
definitely experienced that with an individual that was just like, well, my last company, here's how we did it. Here was the impact. Well, then why aren't you at your last company? What happened?
What happened, sis? I know. Oh, well,
Oh my goodness. But this has been, I can't believe 30 minutes has already flown by.
I know. It's crazy.
You know
Every
what they
time.
say, time flies when you're having fun. And even though this is a very heavy topic, right? But one thing Jacinta and I try to do is definitely make it light, but also we want you, light, engaging, and really for all of you to take things away and implement it into your lives as well. Of course, and as we always say, head to ourdipper.com right now. We want to make sure that we continue the conversation. So make sure that you sign up. Also, if you are a hiring manager, if you know of a hiring manager, if you know of recruiters, let them know about ourdipper.com. We would love for them to post open roles so that our community has an opportunity to apply to those roles. And Dipper wants to guide people to better workplaces, one review at a time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. Netta, it was such a blessing to see you again.
Yes, lovely. Yes. And I can't wait to see you next Thursday.
Yes, we will be here. And if you have any topics that you would like to discuss, or if you know of a guest you would like for us to have on, or if you yourself want to be a guest, feel free to shoot us a note at hello@ourdipper.com. We respond to every email. So feel free to shoot us a note, and we love hearing from all of you. Have a great day.
Take care.